We're in Guerin Park at this point, admiring the spring scenery, which is quite grand. But we're also here to look at one of the big problems that Guerin Park has, which is invasive plants. Right here what we have is a holly. This is actually an occasional problem here, but these are established here because this species of holly, which is originally British, is defecated by birds that have eaten the berries of ornamental hollies that are planted in residential areas around here. And the hollies establish, and they spread quite aggressively through runners and asexual reproduction, vegetative reproduction, and displace native vegetation. Here's an example of some holly berries, and the birds eat these berries, and they fly elsewhere in the forest and defecate them out, and the berries take root. Now here's our other big pest. The bright green plant here is called inside-out flower. But the other plant that you see here is English ivy. It has the dark green leaves with white venation on them. And this is an extremely invasive weed in this area, because the English ivy can climb up into the trees and get into areas that have bright sunlight and allow levels of photosynthesis that are not possible for native plants that are trapped on the forest floor. They send the food generated by this photosynthesis back down to the forest floor and use it to overwhelm the native plants with abundant vegetative spread of ivy. This is an example of ivy invasion at its worst. The ivy has excluded virtually every other plant on the forest floor here and completely dominates the riparian vegetation on this small stream. And it has climbed up into the trees. And its dominance in the trees is so extensive that in some cases, as here, the ivy has actually killed the tree and reduced it to a snag. So it's areas like this where ivy control is most important and is potentially most effective in killing the ivy out of the forest canopy, saving the lives of these trees, and reducing the amount of photosynthate that the ivy can send down to the forest floor to continue its dominance. This is what ivy control looks like. As you can see, these ivy vines can be quite large. This is a 2-3 inch diameter vine, and all that's necessary is to cut out sections of the ivy vines, usually near the ground where it's easily seen. It's a good idea to remove all the ivy around a tree near its base so that it's easy to see if there's any reinvasion of ivy going on. And this results in the death of the entire ivy network in the tree and allows the tree to begin to recover its foliage. Here's another example of a tree that formerly had a very severe ivy infestation. We cut out all the ivy vines climbing this tree about 2 years ago, and all of the ivy in the tree subsequently died, although as you can see there's an ivy tendril here that's trying to climb up again and reestablish. We'll put an end to that. But this business of keeping the ivy out of the forest is a never-ending task, and in the Pacific Northwest at least, there's really almost no money available for this task, so nearly all the work is done by volunteers.